Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar today. We're excited. We have a great presentation lined up for you, and I'll get to those intros in a moment. But first, I'll just give a quick intro. I'm Chris Pace. I'm president of the AMA Phoenix chapter, and we have a lot of things going on. I would encourage you to go to amaphoenix.org to check out all of the events, volunteer opportunities, networking, and social gatherings that we will be having planned over the next couple months. And of course, the biggest thing we have coming is the 2024 Spectrum Award. So my friend and colleague, Trevor Stasek, will give a quick overview of what that is all about.
Thank you, Chris. Just so you know, we are going all in on the entire prism of marketing: design, copy, campaign, strategy, planning, process, technology, innovation, AI. It's all coming together, and we want you to be a part of it. If you haven't heard, it is the premier marketing awards program for the state. While it's hosted by AMA Phoenix, we are representing marketing professionals from all over Arizona. So whether you're listening to us from Phoenix, Tucson, Flagstaff, or all parts in between, please, we want you to submit. Go ahead, take advantage of that early bird submission pricing and ticketing. You have until only February 27th. And after that, our prices are going to go back up, but we want you to take advantage of it. To the bold thinkers, relentless doers, you are more than marketers. You're market movers, power players, mind shakers. I want to see you at the Spectrum Awards this year. Let's go.
Wow,
Right,
I'm psyched. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, how do you say no to that? Trevor is should be everybody's hype man. But awesome stuff. Trevor and the team have put together a really great program for what's coming at the Spectrum Awards. So I encourage you to check it out and submit, attend, sponsor. We've got a little bit of everything for everybody.
Want to see you all there. I'm going to put some links in the chat, so keep an eye there.
Awesome. All right, well, let's dive into our panel, and we're gonna hear first from Jennifer, and then a little bit from Jeannie later. But the team is from Convince and Convert. They're a local meaning Phoenix. I see we have people from all over the place, so I should clarify. Phoenix-based agency. And today's topic is around influencer marketing. So Jennifer Harmon is about as expert as you can get, a black belt in this space. She's got 18 years of experience in content marketing leadership, just passionate individual with a great acumen for strategy. And she also has an Insta-famous multi-poo. So we'll put that handle in the chat, but Bodie McNugget, I hope I said that correctly, but I checked it out last night, and it's a must follow. So I'm going to pass the torch to Jennifer, and show is yours now.
All right. Hi, everyone. All right. So thanks for joining. Thanks for that warm welcome. It is at Bodie McNugget. So that's a fun follow. I'm Jennifer Harmon. Like you already said, I work in influencer marketing. I've been doing that for about 10 years since I was at Disney Parks and Resorts. I was responsible for building some of their very first social media partnerships and, influencer relations for things like Disney World, Disneyland, cruise line, the resort hotels, and kind of anything and everything in between. From there, I launched some of the first ever influencer programs at Ruby Tuesday, IHG, Holiday Inn Club, and now I have the great pleasure of working with a whole lot of different brands and clients as a freelancer and a consultant. So I have a lot of passion for influencer marketing, and I'm excited to share what I know with you guys. Some of the lessons I'm sharing today were learned the hard way, so hopefully you can benefit from these and avoid some of the little pitfalls. So we're going to go through 21 tips, and I'm going to leave you with a readiness checklist. That's something that you can immediately go through with your team and kind of evaluate and see where you are in your consumer, creator marketing journey. And then we said this a little bit ago, but I'll say it again. feel free to take notes, but you will get access to all of these slides at the end. So feel free to jot stuff down or not. And if you have a question pop up while we're going, feel free to put it in the chat and we'll moderate and try to get to everything at the end. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on why influencer marketing is so important today, because if you've joined, I'm sure you already think it's important and valuable. So I do want to just kick things off with a couple of quick stats, and then we'll get right into the tips. So 60% of consumers say they have been influenced to buy something when shopping online. 82% trust social media opinions, and that number drops drastically when it comes to trusting celebrities. And that kind of makes sense, right? That's the beauty of influencer marketing. It's not, a movie star that inherently memorizes a script and acts. It's, the mom next door with a blog, or the guy that you always see at the gym or work. These are relatable influencers, and it feels a lot more real typically when they recommend something to you and your target audience. There is a huge purchasing power here, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. This is only going to continue to grow as influencer recommendations are really meaningful, especially as you get into millennial and Gen Z attitudes. And these stats just came out, how everything kind of comes out, predictions for 2024. 92% of brands are planning on either increasing their budget or the role that influencers have in their strategy overall. This has now been estimated as a over $21 billion industry, just influencer marketing alone. But it doesn't always have a clear path or roadmap, right? So we want to make sure that we're looking at best practices and things to watch out for when you're harnessing the power of this tactic. When things go well, they typically tend to go really, really well. This has become a classic kind of modern day case study for influencer success. This was Dunkin' Donuts on TikTok. They partnered with Charlie, who has like 150 million followers, or she at least did at the time. They partnered with her to launch a new cold brew. And it led to a 20% increase in cold brew sales on day one and a 45% increase on day two. So that's an example of it going really, really well. And I can't see you all right now while I'm sharing, so I can't ask for a raise of hands, but I'm sure many of you, if not all, have heard of the pitfalls of influencer marketing, of when it goes bad and going really, really bad. So I'm sure you guys have heard of the Bud Light boycott fiasco. So what we're focusing on today is how to move from all the reasons why you might not want to do influencer marketing to leaving with, sure, why not? Of course I want to do influencer marketing, and I want to help build a business case to get everybody in my organization on board as well. So that's what we're going to be looking at with these tips that go across what we're calling 4 main stages of influencer marketing processes. We're also going to look at a couple of people that are doing this really well. I am a huge believer of following other brands, competitors, peers, aspirational brands, and getting ideas, right? You're not copying other people, but just follow along, jot ideas down, and think about how could you apply that kind of angle or approach or unique spin to your own brand. So I would recommend, if you don't already, following all the brands on this page, but today we're going to look just at 4. I hope that you can picture yourself, your brand, your product, your service in at least one of these. I tried to pick out ones that are really different. We've got a relatively new business, e-commerce business with Hill House, a small niche business with Bocce Bakery dog treats, a really big trusted name and industry leader with Marriott, and then of course, a big box brand with Walmart. And just to keep things fun, I know you guys are on your lunchtime. We're also just going to have a little influence in real life for each section to break this up. As you know, I've said I love influencer marketing professionally, but personally, I'm always fascinated by what people find online and how people are influenced, and what are those successful repeat purchases versus like what are some funny fails. So the first one here is from Hannah Tucker. She found something called a headache hat on TikTok, and I guess you put it in the freezer and it takes away your migraine. So there you go. So think about ways that you have been influenced in real life and really remind yourself to take a step back. You are a marketer, but you're also a consumer first, right? So taking inspiration from real life is so important and very refreshing. So let's dive into the tips. These are action-oriented tips for both B2C and B2B. So even though a lot of these visuals, a lot of the more readily available examples are B2C, you can apply these practices to both. So influencer marketing used to be kind of a fringe strategy, like a nice to have, maybe if we have leftover budget kind of tactic. But today, it's a really big deal. And the brands that are doing it best are stacking several smaller accounts to get the biggest impact. So I think a lot of people get overwhelmed when they're just starting out or expanding their creator program. They think they've got to work with, the Charlie that like Dunkin' Donuts did on TikTok. Your brand might not even be on TikTok, right? So there's lots of different levels and tiers of influencers. And so my first and biggest tip would be to not discount those smaller accounts. So if you want an example of this, Kim Kardashian has almost 350 million followers. Her engagement rate is less than 1%. I think it's closer to 0 than 1. But if you look at this, like the nano and the micro, less than 10,000, less than 50,000 followers, they're smaller, but they often have, 4, 5, 6, 7, even 8+% engagement rates. They've got the time, the resources, the passion to answer questions, make recommendations, take on extra brand deals. They're excited to do so. So don't discount those smaller influencers. They can have huge impact. And you kind of look at quality over quantity and ask yourself, who's a natural fit for your product? Another way of looking at this is looking beyond followership and at different types of influential people. So people that might not even come to mind at first, right? You might be thinking, okay, I got to get these, mommy bloggers or a full-time creator. But according to Forbes, these micro influencers are really powerful and they receive up to over 60% more engagement than well-known macro influencers. So really look at this list on the right and think through, who do you know or who could you reach out to that could give your brand or service a really great engagement? So a lot of people ask me like, sure, great, Jennifer, I won't discount the smaller brands, but where do I start? If you still don't know what to do or how to reach out or how to make a list of people to work with, start with your fans. So look at your tagged photos, see who's using your hashtag and enjoying your products already. UGC is a fantastic gateway to influencer marketing. So the example here, imagine, Starbucks sees this tagged photo and they reach out, hey, at Carolina, we love your sunset photo of iced coffee. Can we share it? What you want to do is go one step further and proactively look at through your tagged photos, find who's engaging with you and proactively reach out to them. So instead of just resharing, you could say, hey, at Carolina, you seem to love iced coffee. We're coming out with a new product. Should we work together? So all things being said, start with people that already know and love you. And then say less. So a lot of times I've seen brands send over like a 30-page brand book or their full budget, or hey, we're looking to work with 10 people and these dates and these product differentiators and all these reasons to believe, You don't even know if this person wants to work with you yet. And you're kind of giving away your information. All you really want to say is, hey, my name's Jennifer. I work at so-and-so brand. Love your account, love your content. I'd love to work together. Let's talk. And just leave it at that. I've been doing this for a while now, and I will admit that I usually know if it's a fit when I get on a phone or a Zoom call within like 2 to 3 minutes. You can tell so much from that live dynamic and that conversation. So don't take that benefit away from yourself by getting stuck in writing. You can tell how excited they are or how maybe not excited they are when you can just talk. So another question I get a lot of the times is if you really need an agreement. I think social media sometimes gets dismissed or minimized because everybody's on social, almost everybody, right? So, it gets confused with being casual because your CEO is probably on Facebook. But yes, you want to formalize this. You want a contract and you want a mutually beneficial NDA. But also remember that that does not protect you from people talking to other people about you nowadays. As you can see from these visuals over the last year or two, a lot of creators are kind of spilling the tea on social, and they're sharing the good and the bad about working with brands. And they're not violating their NDA because they're not talking about which brands, but the chatter is out there. And even though there are a lot of creators, it's a small community and people talk. So if you're demanding or rude or stingy, micromanaging, you might get a bad reputation. So you want to keep in mind that your influencers are also consumers. So I wish I could make this tip like number 5, 6, 7, 8. I won't, but it is a big one. Always, always, always personally look at your creators before launching anything. Nowadays, there are a ton of amazing tools, platforms, agencies, software to identify who you might want to work with. And it's gotten to the point where you could do a full-blown influencer campaign without having ever interacted with these people. And I have a feeling that's probably maybe what happened with Bud Light. But I tell my teams to take at least 5 to 6 kind of big scrolls through each creator. It doesn't take that long. And you can tell really quickly if someone has a polarizing stance, if they touch on a lot of sensitive subjects, if they love one of your competitors and talk about them all the time. And also look at their sponsored posts. If they're not putting a lot of quality, care, or time or effort into other sponsored posts, then they're probably not going to do that for you either. So take a look at who you're working with. So who's doing it well? Hill House Home. They sell higher end but still obtainably priced clothing, home goods, etc. But they choose their influencers based on style and aesthetic, not followerships. So a key part of them being so aspirational is looking for great diversity and leaning on people who make their stuff look great. They also lean heavily into using their founder and CEO as an influence herself. This is Nell Diamond, and she has actually said in interviews that when she looks for influencers, she looks like she's casting a photographer, an artist. She doesn't really care about their followers, clicks, sales. I would say you should care about both. But this is a fantastic example and a reminder that influencers can be an extension of your content studio. They can supplement the assets that you're already making in-house or with your agency. And this influenced in real life is from Sunny. She is a fellow consultant at Convince and Convert with me, and I think she's on today. But she said she was influenced on social to buy faux leather leggings during the summer in Texas, which was a hot fail. Thanks, Sunny. So let's move into contracting and briefing, right? I said it was important. It is. There were these good old days back in the early days where people could just send influencers product and ask them to review it. Or you could try to just do a trade like, hey, I'll give you this product for free and you give me the post, affiliate commissions, etc. Nowadays, it really is the norm to pay your influencers an actual monetary compensation. This is a lot of people's full-time job, and it's now considered a must-have marketing tactic instead of just something to kind of test and learn with. So make sure you budget for it. You wouldn't ask your photographer to work for free, probably. So make sure you're setting dollars aside. You want to make sure that the influencers you work with are in it for more than a paycheck, right? And again, in that 2 to 3 minute phone call, you can tell who's just in it for money versus who's really passionate and excited to work with you. But do have those dollars set aside. Do not expect this to be a free tactic. Okay, so this first one is one I learned the hard way. Like I said, for in perpetuity, when I was back at Disney, I was so excited about this brand deal. I had worked on it for months. We had gone back and forth forever. And a couple of weeks after it went live, I went to see how it was doing and it was gone. They had deleted it. And I went, oh my gosh. It never dawned on me to put in the contract that they shouldn't delete it. later. It had never entered my mind, but you do want to get in perpetuity so your post does not disappear after all your hard work. And you also want competitive clauses. Another example of that, I was once in an elevator with my boss's boss, C-suite executive. And I'm like, oh, hey, gosh, we just worked with this amazing influencer. Let me show you, right? Taking advantage of the FaceTime. And as I was pulling up the post, I was hoping to show for a hotel brand. I passed a post for Marriott, Hilton, the Four Seasons, and I finally got to ours, and it was like, womp, womp. So make sure you're including competitive clauses. How long do they need to wait to work with someone else after working with you? So it's not back to back to back. And you can be honest, be like, look, I know I can't afford exclusivity in my budget, but these are the top 4 competitors to not work with. You can always find some kind of happy medium. And then make sure that you're doing all this negotiation live or recap it. Get it all figured out before you go to legal. Your legal team will thank you for not having all this back and forth as red lines. So you are going to have a much more successful, smoother time with your influencer marketing if you put more of the work on the upfront. So you really want to put a lot of effort into doing a clear, thorough input, but make it super short and succinct, like 1-pager style, maybe 2 bullet points, bolded letters. Influencers are busy. They have kids, they have other jobs, other brand deals. You don't want them hunting for what they're supposed to do or guessing what they're supposed to do. So kind of get in, get out, key messaging, don't say this, include this, legal disclosure, FTC, done. Also, don't rush it. So there have been a couple of times where I've gotten a phone call from a client or a new brand, and they're like, hey, I'm so excited. We have this huge launch we've been working on forever. It goes live next week. Can we do some influencers? And I've had to honestly say, no, it's kind of already too late, right? So this example that's playing here, it looks really simple. People are flipping lids. This was a really popular hashtag campaign for Chipotle. It looks simple, but so much went into this. There's graphic designs, there's legal terms, contest stipulations. There was an agency supporting them. So don't underestimate the amount of time to do these partnerships right. So speaking of who's doing it right, the next example is Marriott. They have a really cool campaign called 30 Stays in 300 Days. They allow people to apply to be their travel correspondents, which is so cool. The last time I traveled for work, I actually stayed at a Courtyard Marriott, and it was the first thing I saw when I walked in the room on the in-room TV, and I was familiar with it already, but they do a great job of getting diverse influencers, kids, no kids, couples, different, ethnicities, but they always make sure they support the efforts with paid media and that kind of omni-channel visibility and integration. And it's so cool that they have that application. So if you're still, if you ever have that moment where you're like, gosh, I really don't know who to work with next. I don't know who is going to be my creator next quarter. Have people come to you. So put up an application, landing page, social post, email blast, and say, hey, we're looking for ambassadors. Tell us why you love our product. Have them show an example to you. And there you go. This is especially helpful for B2B. So that can be harder to find influencers for like technology solutions or SaaS. So have your super fans kind of come to you. So influenced in real life, this is where I really want you to think about a time that you were influenced by social media. Feel free to put yes in the chat if you have ever bought something after being influenced by someone on social media. And as a fun bonus, you can put if it was a success or a fail. But this is, again, just a little reminder to jot down inspiration as you go. If you look at social media every day, you should probably be getting ideas for how to borrow things and make them uniquely work for your brand every day too. So next, we're getting into the actual creation process and making the most of your time and effort. So 89% of marketers reuse their influencer assets, and I would absolutely recommend that you do the same. So think beyond social. This was that fancy like Applebee's song. And I apologize if this is going to be stuck in your head for the rest of the day for mentioning it. At least I'm not playing the sound. But last summer, it got millions of likes, viral dance, trending audio, etc. We all have been kind of in weird positions where your brand kind of gets away from you. Applebee's could have very easily just liked it or commented or reshared, or they could have been like, this is kind of annoying. Let's just pretend it's not happening. Instead, they licensed the music, permissioned the UGC clips, supplemented them, and produced an original official TV spot. So that's a great example of thinking beyond this just being in a silo or in a bubble for social. So if and when you're negotiating with creators, think about everything that you might need across your entire marketing mix. They are fantastic photographers, videographers. Short form videos are things they make easily and frequently. So bolster your, asset library, incorporate assets across other mediums like Marriott did with in-room, budget for paid media boosts or whitelisting, and really make sure that if you're putting all this time and energy and effort into this, that you're getting it everywhere. This is what I like to call a one for me, one for you. And it really helps make sure that these influencer partnerships are not a one and done. So this is actually like my favorite influencer project ever. We invited Tiny Hamster to have his best little day at Disney World. And if you do not know Tiny Hamster, go YouTube him afterwards and you will be very happy that you did. But we had them do this video for their channel since they're influential, but we negotiated to do a behind the scenes video for our channel. And what we did is we had anyone that watched Tiny Hamster's video, it encouraged them to watch our video and vice versa. And by doing that, we all got more clicks, more views, and more engagement because there was a mutual cross promotion. This doesn't have to be just YouTube to YouTube, platform to platform. Staying with Disney Parks examples, we once partnered with a very popular baking influencer on YouTube, but our cross promotion was on our blog and Pinterest. So I can't say this one enough. I'm gonna shout it from the rooftops here from Florida. It could be the entire presentation, but that'd be kind of boring. It'd be over really fast. But let your creators do what they do best. Let them do what they do best. That's why they have followers. That's why they're influential. Their fans follow and love them because of their personality and their quirks and their sense of humor and their style and their graphic design aesthetics. You're not going to get your perfect TV commercial. And that shouldn't be your goal. The point is to have an influencer translate your brief, translate your story into something that looks and feels like them to get your story out to even more people. That's how you're going to see results. So don't try to fit this into what you might fit into like your agency execution. Another way of kind of giving up that control, and I know it's hard. As a brand, we try to protect and oversee and have everything be precise and perfect. But if you give up that control in the right ways, you can speed things up and get more done. So a good example of this in real life, this is Mia from Gray's Little Closet. I ended up working with her multiple times, and her posts were impeccable. She always highlighted us in the best positive light. She always went above and beyond. She never messed up our disclosures, which this was a timeshare, so they were a lot. So for the future partnerships with her, I skipped it. I'm like, just post it. If you can skip the review and approval in ways like that, you can just kind of get more done. Just if you do that, make sure your contract has it in there that they will go back and correct things if they do happen to, have an oopsie. And if they do mess up, here's the thing, it happens. They're humans. Try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Reach out and be like, did you mean to say this? Consumers first, influencers second. So really just always try to end the partnership on a positive note, even if you're already sure you're not going to work with them again. If it gets really bad, really egregious, breach of contract territory, have your legal team be the bad cops so that, again, you can kind of keep that marketing relationship pristine. All right, so here's the doing it well that is very shameless and biased. These are my multi-poos. This is a sponsored video we did for Bocce's Bakery. Like I said, it's a very small dog treat company. They have an awesome ambassador program. So my dogs are hashtag Bocce buddies. And what's cool is like my account is small. I know you guys said they were famous, but it is small. It's a hobby. And we just love these treats. And they have ambassadors with tiny followings, small, large, huge, but they always make sure that the creators have a genuine love for their product so that there's a genuine advocacy. So if you've ever been like, oh, my company's too small to have an ambassador program, if you have consumers, you can have an ambassador program. And then this influenced in real life comes from Amanda. She said all of her skincare comes from influencers because they're so glowy. And I want to be glowy too. So it's a good example too, to not ignore the fact that there are male influencers too. Last section, sprinting to the finish here, measuring and optimizing. So 77% of marketers measure the success of influencer work by engagement. But I am sure most, if not all of you are like, where's the ROI? Show me the one-to-one. Or if you're not, maybe your leader is, or your finance team is. Ideally, you'd look at both. Look at engagement, look at ROI. But to do that, you have to put the right measuring steps in place. You can't measure engagement, ROI, anything if you don't have the right tools. So make sure you're getting your creators promo codes, unique trackable links, UTM, and give them worthwhile discounts. A lot of times you'll see influencers that are like, hey, use my code, get 10% off. And you're sent to a landing page that offers 30% off. And then the landing page says, hey, if you give me your phone number and your email, you'll get 40% off. You're kind of just shortchanging all the efforts that you just did. So give your creators an equal or better discount so that you're not having people abandon that influencer for whatever else you have on your website. Hopefully it goes without saying, but make sure anyone that is consumer facing in your organization knows that you're launching an influencer program. Be ready for website traffic spikes, hopefully, for those promo codes to work. Make sure customer service knows how to answer questions. And then make sure your leaders know what's going on. I like to call this an overtime, not overnight expectation. A lot of times this sits top of funnel. It's very different to sell a cold brew versus a car or a vacation or a technology solution. That's going to take time. So don't be too hard on yourself or reactionary or unrealistic about immediate results. It will build over time. So make sure you're goal setting, you're set up for success. Measure the full funnel to get the big picture of your efforts. Establish your KPIs and then track, report out, but make sure you're not just zeroing in on sales or just reach. Look at everything. If you still get to the point, right, you're optimizing maybe on your 5th, 6th, 7th program of the year, and you're like, gosh, I really just don't know who to work with next. My short list is short. Ask your key target audiences who they want to hear from, who they follow. It's a great way to bolster your list. So there are a lot of different ways to ask that, but there's absolutely no harm in just asking, like, who do you want to hear from? And then finally, repeat what performs well and feels good. I think a lot of times we get so caught up in like, okay, this quarter I want to work with 20 creators, 30, 40, who's next? And we forget that we can and we should repurpose and repeat what has proven to work well in the past. So these examples, Mindy McKnight and Christy from Wazing Asians, I've worked with both of them across 3 really different brands over a decade. It just works. They're fantastic. So don't discount repeating people that do a great job for you and your brand. Our final who's doing well is Walmart. They have been working very hard to destigmatize what it feels like to shop at Walmart, specifically what it feels like to shop for clothes at Walmart. They have been doubling and tripling down in the fashion space to try to kind of chip away dollars from Amazon, Target, change their reputation from what you might see on people of Walmart. They didn't used to have like on-trend clothes. So they've been working really hard with very aspirational creators, very high-end, fashionistas, and they're demanding our attention. Like the sheer scale and volume and frequency of them working with these partners is impressive. I would say about a year or two ago, it would have never dawned on me to go to Walmart for an outfit. And now I see it all the time. So much so that I am actually our last influenced in real life. I got this blazer and shirt because I saw it on Walmart 10,000 times last fall. And again, when they first started their fashion pitch, I kind of found it a little inauthentic and forced. I'm like, that girl lives on the Upper East Side. She has Chanel flats and a Louis Vuitton bag. She is not wearing Walmart. But then they got me. Fast forward to like now I see it all the time and I'm like, that is really cute. So I bought it. So you can kind of do a reputation change and kind of a change management of expectations through influencers as well, as long as you pivot and have a really good reason why. All right. So I promised you guys a readiness checklist, and that's our final tip to evaluate where you are. Be honest with yourself, get feedback and input from your team, and make sure that you're really ready to go before you jump into your next influencer campaign or if you start your program for the very first time. You'll be able to download this from our QR code, but just again, be honest, take your time, go through all these steps, include the people that are actually doing this work day to day, and ultimately know when to ask for outside help. If you find it hard to fill this out, that's how you can tell that you might need to pull in someone for a little extra support. Which is my super smooth segue into staying in touch and getting extra help. So you can reach me in 3 ways. I'm a freelancer at my own company, Content Unicorn. I'm a senior strategist and content creator at Convince and Convert. And of course, you can reach me on LinkedIn, but this middle one here, I'm trying to point to, that is how you can get all of these slides, your checklist, and see how Convince and Convert may be able to help you with your goals and questions, which we will now open up to question and answer. So I'm going to stop sharing and turn it back over to Ginny, Lisa, Taylor, whoever's going to lead this part. But thanks, guys.
Excellent. Thank you so very much. That was a lot of great content. And we're going to get started with helping people get started. A lot of people just want to know, what would be that first step? They feel a little overwhelmed. What would be, a good budget to start with? Or do you recommend hiring an agency like yourself to get started with influencer marketing?
Yeah, so I mean, not to sound like the lame answer, but I would definitely download our checklist and kind of go through it. And step by step, it is designed to help you feel ready and know exactly where to start. But beyond that, I would say the baby steps are making sure so many people overlook the fact of just being on social media, right? So a CEO or director level that wants to do influencer marketing, but they're not on TikTok and they're not on Instagram. There's so much to be said for immersing yourself in that world, even if it's a little uncomfortable or not something you really personally enjoy. You definitely need you and your team to know what's going on and how this all works, or it's just going to feel like you're trying to read Greek. So do the checklist, make sure you're immersed in these platforms and you're following, industry news and how it all works. And then again, I would say start with your tagged photos. You do not need to have a huge budget to work with macro influencers to start out. Try a couple of baby steps, right? Say, okay, this person has a couple of tagged photos. They're pretty. They feel like they could be a great advocate for us. You can sometimes start out with just a trade or a very nominal fee. The smaller and smaller the creators are as far as followerships, the less expensive it typically becomes. But that's just going to be something that you feel out and kind of take baby steps with when you're starting out.
Lovely. And as people are starting out, you mentioned the importance of having these influencer contracts and the NDAs. What would be your, resource to getting quality contracts written?
Yeah, so you can always start with whatever your company's template is. That's probably going to be easiest for your own legal team to feel included and to feel in control. But you know, when I worked at Disney, these contracts started out being like 30, 40 pages long. Like they were like an SOW for a agency of record. And we really had to like pump the brakes and work with legal to make it short and sweet. All you really need in there is that we, the brand, and you, the influencer, are working together on the following: the date, 1 or 2 lines about the information, whether it's a launch or a product or a go-to-market. What are they doing for you? And what are you giving them in return? That's really all you're looking at. So that's the shell and the guts of the contract. So let's say, hey, we're like the Chipotle, or let's do the cold brew launch, right? Brand new Dunkin' Donuts. Charlie is going to do 3 in-feed posts, 6 stories, 1 short form video, and 1 shout out. We are going to pay her X amount and give her coffee for life. And she has to keep these posts up in perpetuity and is not allowed to work with Starbucks for a year. The rest of it is kind of just filling in the details. So don't overthink it or make it more complicated than that, but don't skip it either.
Excellent. Yes. And then, how would you help this person? How do you respond if one of your own fans has an organic piece of content that you want to use, but they want you to pay them for it?
Sure. I would say that you've got to have your budget and your strategy locked down before you reach out to anyone. So that's organic fans, that's influencers, that's Kim Kardashian. Get your ducks in a row and really make sure everyone on your team, everyone that's interfacing with consumers, everyone with legal, customer service, et cetera, is on the same page. If you have your budget and your strategy down, then it's easy to say this person's a fit. And okay, let's say this an organic fan, they don't really have a lot of followers, maybe just a couple hundred, friends and family, but they created a really fantastic reel. Ask yourself how much time, energy, money, and effort it would have taken you to create that in-house. And don't even, you wouldn't even have like the advocacy and the genuineness of it coming from someone else. But ask yourself how much it would have taken for you to do that and go, okay, this is worth it. This is great. I would say in that situation, you probably want to be the proactive kind of lead on rates. So if it's someone that doesn't have a lot of followers, but you love their content, you really think it's going to help your strategy to reshare it, offer them a nominal fee, right? I think confidence goes a long way in these conversations. Even if you've never done this before, you can say, hey, for someone with your number of followers, we typically pay $600. How does that sound? Right? So just kind of own it and be confident. And there's nothing to lose. They can come back and say no. They can come back and say, that's amazing, thank you. Or they can come back and say, well, actually, I was expecting X, and you can kind of wiggle to the middle. But that's why it is so important to try to get on a phone call, try to get on a Zoom. You can really read the room and the body language instead of shooting off emails and being like, whoa, like that is, not the right number. We're not even in the right ballpark.
That makes perfect sense. So what would be your suggestion to someone wanting to potentially use influencers to market an event? Do you have any strategies around that of either pre, during, or post-event, how to use influencers?
Yeah, I've done that several times. It's really just a matter of having phases set up, right? So if you have 10 influencers doing the event and they're all there the day of the event, that's not really going to be influential, right? So you want to make sure there's a pre-event phase, and you're going to put a lot of effort into that to make sure that if you're trying to get other people to attend or join, then they're influencing them. They can say what they're looking forward to, maybe things to do or places to eat around the event or what have you, but have that pre-event phase, have that at-event phase, and that's where you want to do some lives, some takeovers, maybe some cross promotions, a minimum amount of stories they should be posting with the story highlights so they don't get lost. But those are really going to stoke that kind of FOMO, like, oh man, I'm not there, but I wish I was. So now I'm definitely going to go next year. And then post event. So don't kind of throw it away after it's over, especially if it's a repeat event or something you're going to keep doing. Have them do post event, recaps or looking back or photo dumps, etc. So it's a great way to show how much fun or how much benefit there is of an event, as long as you hit those 3 stages.
Wonderful. Well, those are all the questions that I had listed. At this point, anyone can unmute themselves, raise their virtual hand, and ask any questions. And then just really quick, Ginny, I know you posted the link, but just for anyone who wants a QR code, can you show that QR code page one more final time?
Yeah.
And this is also last call for anyone else who has questions. We have enough time to answer any additional questions. And everyone on the screen now should be able to see those QR codes. I suggest even just taking a quick screenshot of this if you want a screenshot. But remember, you will be getting a copy of this recording as well. So you'll be able to look at those QR codes at any point. Trevor, do you have an additional question for us?
Nope, just coming on. Just wanted to, remind people a little bit about Spectrum Awards at the end.
Yes. Yes. So any other questions for Miss Jennifer? I'm going to have one. I have one question while we have other people might be thinking about a question. Do you feel that every industry, whether it is a B2C or B2B, should be doing influencer marketing of some sort, and why?
I mean, I'm sure there are those cases out there where like, wow, that's definitely won't work. But for the most part, I think that it is a critical tool in your marketing toolkit. So it is a great way to supplement your marketing strategy and your executional plan. So instead of you telling the world how amazing you are, you're getting other relatable, trustworthy, influential people to tell your story for you in an engaging way. So it's not like this is all you should be doing, but it's just such a supplement to the things that you do have total control over and your more traditional campaigns. So I'm a huge believer of doing influencer marketing for just about anything, since it's just a way of it's basically an evolved word of mouth. So definitely try to think outside the box and think how your industry or your product could have someone basically just vouch for you.
And with you saying that, like, it's just like another third, party validation, word of mouth, I guess, where's that fine difference between someone just doing like a testimonial review, more of a, user generated content versus, it being an influencer, like where it almost seems like it's a very muddied line between the two.
They're really related. So that's where I said, UGC is a great gateway to influencer marketing, right? It's an outside third party talking about your product. So whereas UGC is just someone that's like, wow, this is a beautiful sunrise. I'm going to take a picture of my iced coffee, and Starbucks reshares it. There's a lot more, planning, thinking, strategy, messaging that goes into a lot of the influencer marketing. So I would say kind of the art and the science of it is telling people exactly what you hope that they're going to convey to others, but in their own voice and style. So UGC, people are just going to say what they want to say, and maybe it gets reshared. But hey, Charlie, we really want to make sure you tell everyone on TikTok that this cold brew is caramel flavored. I'm making it up, right? You can actually not control, but influence the script a little bit of what is the key message that you want them to tell to their followers.
And then since it's supposed to be something to work in conjunction with the rest of our marketing efforts, many times people say like, oh, you should post, 70% of the time business and 30% of the time be personal on social. What would be that balance of the content amount of what should be from an influencer versus perhaps a more polished production commercial from your brand?
That one I say really depends. That's like, it's really going to be a strategy by strategy, brand by brand call. I would never say, here's the cookie cutter formula for everybody to use. I will say I've I've personally used kind of a 20% to 33% ratio of influencer to produced, but I mean, it really depends.
Excellent. Trevor, you have your hand up.
I do. I've got a quick question. Jennifer, what happens in the event that you have an influencer that probably accidentally delivers or gives out incorrect information? Would you have them issue a retraction, something like that? And are there any, since they're working on your behalf, are there any legal implications, because of that?
Yeah, no, that is a fantastic question. I've been through it before and I'm not the only person. That's where you really want to, again, have a relationship with these influencers. It's not just a business transaction. I'm like friends with people I've worked with after all of these, but reach out and be like, hey, like, and just be kind, right? Like, hey, I saw how much effort and time you put into that post, but actually like you misspelled our name, or you switched the words, or you forgot to put the disclosure and that puts us at legal risk. Ask them like, did you mean to do that? Or like, did you notice, right? They probably didn't. Let them take the lead on the response. Don't like go in there like guns a-blazing, like, you're gonna fix this. That's terrible, right? Just be like, gosh, did you mean to do this? And see what they say. In my personal experience, people are very quick to delete, repost, fix it, or get on there. If they're more of a conversational type like person is like, get ready with me, and like, hey, I posted a story and I messed up. It's actually called this. They'll typically offer to resolve it, but if they don't, that's where you're like, hey, we really need you to do whatever you think is the correct solution. If they ghost you or refuse to do it or say, hey, you're asking me to do too much or whatever, that's where you kind of say, you have to decide, is this a big enough deal? Does this person have small followers and it's probably not that big of a deal? Or, hey, this is actually an egregious breach of contract. They have thousands and thousands of followers. Get your legal team involved. It should be in your contract that if they do something that's either disparaging or incorrect, that it needs to be resolved.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? We have 7 minutes left. Any other questions? I'm wondering too, how long do you typically work with an influencer before you look at those analytics and make the decision, okay, is it worth continuing or should we pull the plug on this idea?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. So I typically recommend to my teams to do like a 24-hour pulse and then a 48-hour pulse, maybe even a 36 if it's like an event and whatnot. Like do that kind of 24-hour and 48-hour look at it, then look at a week. And then after that, and with influencer marketing, if it's going to hit, it's going to hit, unless it's like a guest blog or something like that that's long term, or like a YouTube video. Then you can kind of fold it in and incorporate it into your regular monthly and quarterly analytics. But look at it pretty immediately, maybe a couple days later, a week later, and then fold it into your regular analytics. If you're just starting out in influencer marketing, you're not going to have anything to compare to. And a lot of times it's interesting, right? Like, I've worked with macro influencers that have this huge spike that lasts for like a day and a half, and then we never see anything from it again. And then we have all these teeny tiny influencers that we actually see that engagement and that kind of traffic last much longer because they have a smaller, more engaged audience. So it really depends. Instead of trying to make like a harsh, rash, like quick, instant decision, just kind of let things build over time. I know it's so hard because you want to report out like, we got this ROI and this is a success or not, and moving on, but just try to let it grow and compare. Like, okay, we worked with 5 influencers last month and we saw this. We worked with 5 this month and we saw this. Like, where are the trends? Where are the correlations? Where can we start to build up the context in the data to say whether something worked or not? It's not something you're going to get immediately.
Makes perfect sense. But those are still really great guidelines for those who are starting out to see, okay, when should you expect some movement? So we do have 5 minutes left. I think we have time for one last final question. So feel free to unmute yourself and just blurt out that question. Going once, going twice. This presentation sold. Okay, we're going to just have a last few announcements here. We just want to share a little bit about what is next up and coming. And so you do want to make sure you're looking out for your inbox. You will be getting your slides, as well as you'll be getting information about upcoming events. And of course, if you did not hear Trevor's pitch earlier, you should have, and you're going to listen to this re-recording later to hear it. But Trevor, what should we know?
Just want to remember, want people to remember, don't forget, early bird pricing is going to end in 5 days.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. And then Chris, our president, any final words for us before we let everyone go?
Well, first, I want to say thank you to Jennifer and Ginny. This was an amazing topic, and it's one of those things that it's hard to nail down expertise because the space changes so much. But Jennifer laid out a really focused and programmatic and strategic way to look at this so that it's adaptable to where the future may go. So it always boils down to principles and sticking to principles and strong planning. So thank you, Jennifer, for a great topic today. I also want to thank our board who puts in a lot of work to bring this content to you. So thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Brittany, especially for getting all of the creative and the communications out there as well. And then, of course, Trevor, you know, the hype man extraordinaire. You'll regret not joining us at Spectrum, because I think Trevor's probably going to come find you and ask you why you didn't show up. So please consider joining us. It's going to be a great event at the Phoenix Art Museum in May. And if you are interested in volunteering, we are currently voting for our executive board, and we will soon be fielding interviews for all the board positions that are available coming up in the month of March. So always check amaphoenix.org for all the latest and greatest on that front. And on that note, I think we are at a close. So appreciate you all. Appreciate you, Taylor. You are her. When you Taylor, so I'm gonna hype Taylor for a second. So first of all, she is an entrepreneur. Her and her husband run this company, Financial Potion, and they do creative services for just about every industry on every video channel. And Taylor gives her time to do this for us and for all of you. So Taylor, thank you so much for being such a great supporter of AMA, and we appreciate you in particular.
Love being a part of the team. So thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Have a great
everyone.
rest of your day.